Hi, my name is Pastor John at First United Methodist Church in Long Beach. Welcome to today's installment of What Was Jesus Up To During Holy Week. Today is Monday of Holy Week, and it's today, according to Mark's Gospel, that Jesus entered the temple in Jerusalem, and there he drove out the money changers and those who were selling animals. Now, why were there money changers and why were people selling animals in the temple? Well, first, people, when they came to Jerusalem, did a couple of things. One, they would donate to the temple treasury, and to donate, one couldn't use Roman money that they used out in the world. They had to convert it over to Jewish money, and so the exchange rates were fixed there in the temple. Also, when people came to the temple, they would need to make a sacrifice, an atonement for their sins, and so they would need to bring or buy there at the temple doves or a lamb or a sheep or a goat or some sort of animal, depending on their income and their status. Well, also the prices of animals were fixed there in the temple, and it often favored not the people coming to worship, but the temple itself. And so Jesus had a problem with that. And so not only did he drive them out because of their practices that were not very generous to the worshipers coming, but also the place that they were occupying in the temple was reserved for people from all nations. There was a place in the temple specifically for the high priest, that only the high priest could enter. There was a space in the temple for priests, that only priests could enter. And then there was another section designated for Jewish males to come and worship. And then there was another place for Jewish females to also worship. All these were separate and distinct places within the temple. Now there was the outermost place where in the temple was reserved for people from outside of the Jewish faith, people that wanted to know more about God or draw near to God from other nations. They were Gentiles. That's how they were termed. But it was in this place that the money changers and the animals were set up, which meant that there was not room for people of all nations to come and to have a space at the temple and draw near to God. I think this riled up Jesus, that the place reserved for people to access God was not available. It was occupied by money changers and by the selling of animals. And Jesus knew that the mission of Israel had always been that they were to be a light to the nations, so that the salvation of God could reach to the ends of the earth. That's from the prophet Isaiah. And so what Jesus knew is that there was no room for people of other nations to come and to worship God. And that's why he drove them out, to make room. He finally ended up saying there in Mark's Gospel, chapter 11, he said, according to Scripture, God says, "My temple will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves." It was because there was no room for all nations to be in the temple that Jesus drove them out. Jesus cares about making space in our world for people who are seeking after God. And in those days, there was no room for them. And that's why he drove them out. Jesus cares about that too. So we as a church and we as Christians, we make room for people who want to know more about God. We make ourselves available, our space available, because we want people to know about Jesus. So I hope you gained something from this installment of What Was Jesus Up To That Day. This was a biggie for Jesus, and it's a big one for us too, because it causes us to think about how are we making space for people who want to know God. So I want to invite you today to think about that and to join us tomorrow for our next installment of What Was Jesus Up To on Tuesday of Holy Week. And also think about, if you're not already planning to join us on Thursday night for our special Holy Week service of Holy Communion, and we tell again the story of the cross. Join us at 7 o'clock this coming Thursday. All right, bye for now. We'll see you tomorrow.